Hi, I'm Doug the neighbor with free advice for $1. And today is a very, very special day for the Camp Kennerk podcast. Yes, it is St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, 2026. And this is our 69th podcast. It's absolutely amazing that our viewers have stuck with us. We be funny, but they are sticking with us and watching us, and we certainly appreciate it. But this is a special podcast because it is St. Patrick's Day, and everybody is St. Patrick's Irish on this day. Everybody is St. Patrick, everybody's Irish on this day. Now, I have been to Ireland and I had a wonderful, wonderful time. And we're going to chat with TK Irish in a couple of minutes, but let me just do a little chat with you concerning St. Patrick's Day. Now, St. Patrick was the patron saint of Ireland, and he is famous for driving the snakes away from Ireland, and we celebrate him worldwide. Now, here at the Camp Kennerk Podcast, with our 69th podcast, we have interviewed 5 different people of Irish heritage, and we're very, very happy to have had them on our show. And let me just list them. We've had Kevin and Kyle Kennerk. We had Steve Kennerk, and then we had Keegan Leahy, and we had Teresa Flores. Her family is Irish. Okay. So we very, very happy to have chatted with these people and had them on our podcast as happy campers. Now, today's a special day for a couple of friends of mine. I have a friend. We call him Fibber from the old Fibber McGee radio show. We call him Fibber. Great, great guy up there in Dallas. And then I have a pal in New York City who is part of the Kelly group, the Kelly gang, which is where they celebrate their heritage and their name of Kelly. And they do that. Now, here in awesome Austin, Texas, the most famous pub to have a good pint of Guinness. And I have a quote from a very good Irishman, and he says, "This is the best place for a Guinness and the great pub grub." And the name of the place is B.D. Riley's up in Mueller. Now, Mueller's a little north of me. But B.D. Riley's up in Mueller for a great Guinness and a great pub grub. Okay, so I wanted to tell you that about here in Ireland, here about Ireland here in awesome Austin, Texas. And I looked up on the internet for a cheap flight from Austin to to Ireland, Dublin, Ireland, or Shannon, and the cost is right at about $1,000 round trip. That's not so bad. That's a pretty good price. Round trip, $500 each way. That's pretty good. Now, I was in Ireland a couple of years ago, and the first thing I went to was Temple Bar, which is a very famous pub there in Ireland. I went there, and then I walked along Grafton Street. And at the very moment that I walked along Grafton Street, there was a flash mob that was going on that just all of these kids just kind of zoomed into the area and they started singing a song. I didn't know what it was, but on Grafton Street, which is a major street through Ireland, there were lots of shops, tourists, and things like that. But there was one particular person, a busker, who somebody's performing for handouts for some money. Very interesting person. It was a man. He was dancing on a piece of tile with tap shoes, and he was in an outfit, and he had a little boombox there, and he was dancing. He was standing there going like this and going like this and going like this. And I was kind of amazed at the amount of money that he was collecting. And I walked away, and then I came back, and he took this uniform off, and he had on a coat and tie underneath. So he was some sort of businessman there at on Grafton Street, and I just called him Dancing Man, and he was kind of fun. And then he poured all of his money into a satchel, and he left. And I'd just like to remember him. And here is a picture of him. I hope he is doing well in life, but I called him Dancing Man there on Grafton Street. And of course, if you're in Dublin, there's the Trinity College there and lots of places to wander around. But uh, one of the best places to go to is to the Guinness Brewery. All right, now the Guinness Brewery has been there since 1789, 1700, something like that. And they have a 1,000-year lease for the property and for the water there. Some sort of history of Guinness. And it's always good fun to go up to the very top of the Guinness building because they have a place up there. Here's the view of the pub at the top of the Guinness place. Get yourself here's some pictures of the view. Beautiful, beautiful day that particular day. Another picture here, and then get yourself a couple of pints of Guinness. Okay, Guinness beer. It's quite good. Really, really wonderful beer. Now, I actually have, I don't know how I got it, but I have a tall boy can of Guinness right here, part of my tall boy collection. But how can you not like the Irish when on their streets, painted in the streets, is this word smile? Now, on my trip to Ireland, we went down to the area around Tipperary, and this is just outside of Tipperary. Everything is so green. I think it's got a name like the Green Vale, and you can see all of the colors of Ireland in this one little vale, what they call a valley. And it was just absolutely beautiful. When you go to Ireland, you will be so impressed by all the colors and everything. And then went on over to the, hang on a second, to the Cliffs of Moher. Now, these cliffs are absolutely stunning, beautiful, beautiful place. And to see there on the west coast of Ireland. And then went down to through Limerick, and we have a little surprise about that, and then went down to Blarney. Now, the Blarney Castle is there, and it's famous, famous castle there just outside the city of, well, outside of the city of Cork and the small town of Blarney, which was a lovely, lovely, really enjoyed that place and went to the Blarney Castle. And my pal, she kissed the Blarney Stone, where they hang you upside down and you kiss the Blarney Stone, which means that if you're full of Blarney, you're like in Texas charm BS, you're full of it, that sort of stuff. But what's interesting in every pub that we went to, especially in Blarney and in Temple Bar and all the other restaurants and pubs in Ireland, is everyone plays what they call traditional music or trad music. And here's a picture of here's a picture of a group at the Blarney Castle Inn in Blarney playing. So that was just absolutely wonderful. We went back to Dublin on our trip back to Dublin, and we took a little tour because of James Joyce. James Joyce is a writer there in Ireland. He wrote this book called Ulysses over a 10-year period. It's a little difficult to read, but it is essential Irish literature. He wrote another book called The Dubliners. It's a tad easier to read, but this particular book is worldwide famous worldwide. And because he tells the tale of a Leopold Bloom who has a day where he walks around Dublin. And on his walk on June 16th, years and years ago, when he wrote this, he met the love of his life. And he also went by to buy a bar of soap. So I bought a bar of soap at Swenny's. I believe that's how you pronounce it, Swenny's bar of soap. And then he went to a pub called the Davy Brine Pub for a sandwich. So that's why I have the book. And I actually went to the pub and had a sandwich. Hang on a second. Do I have that there? But anyway, I really enjoyed my life there, my 2-week stay in Ireland. And one place in particular that has always stuck with me, and maybe Kevin, our magnificent computer dude, can post a picture of Ashford Castle. Ashford Castle is in the area where the great movie The Quiet Man with John Wayne was shot. And it's a beautiful, beautiful castle, well worth the stay there. I could easily just move there right away. It was absolutely beautiful. And to remember my days in Ireland, my tour, I still enjoy a Guinness every now and then. And I also went to a place called Tullamore, and I have a little alcohol of Tullamore Dew here. And I have a bottle of Jameson's for just a little nip of for medicinal purposes, something like that. Now, years and years ago, let me just tell you something. When I lived in Dallas, I went to a pub called the NFL Lounge, and the NFL Lounge was run by a man named Nick Farley. Now, Nick Farley was very, very Irish, and as he and I got to know each other at the NFL Lounge, which was located below the Lucas B&B there at Lemon and Oak Lawn, he and I kept talking about the fact that there was no St. Patrick's Day parade in Dallas. And so we organized a parade along Oak Lawn. Now, the famous parade now is the one on Greenville Avenue, but one of the first original St. Patrick's Day parade was there on Oak Lawn, and we started on Cedar Springs, and it ended at Nick Farley's Lounge for a round of Guinness. And Nick Farley was kind enough to give me a blackthorn shillelagh, This came all the way from Ireland for my efforts to lead and create the St. Patrick's Day parade. We did it about 3 years in a row, and then I moved on to New York City, and then the Greenville Avenue parade was instituted. So I am very connected to Ireland. And then my neighbor, Perry, cooked up some St. Patrick's Day cookies here for the Possum Trot Bakery. They're a little green there, and they've got some coconut in there. So there you go. This is what my story of Ireland, and every day I use Irish Spring soap. How Irish is that? Now, TK, was just great telling you this story. It is your day. You are TK Irish. Tell me about St. Patrick's Day.
Good morning to you, my friend. It's always grand here to celebrate St. Patrick's Day with an old friend. So, Doug the neighbor, First of all, first rule of thumb here at Camp Kennerk is we always start with a limerick. And so someone wrote one and sent it in anonymously, and I thought it was quite clever. On St. Paddy's Day at Camp Kennerk, they say, TK Irish and Doug lead the way. With a pint and a mic, their banter is like laughs and shenanigans all holiday. So that just sort of sums it up right there, how our friendship has come about over the years. And, you know, obviously growing up, this is just the way it was. The food, you know, whether you had corned beef and cabbage, you have some shepherd's pie, which we're having this evening. And maybe if you could figure out a baker that can make you some Irish soda bread, that'd be a grand night. So, you know, I always talk about the Irish pubs. I mean, that's a tradition that's been through all over the world. People always say, we got to go to the pub. And there's no explaining what a pub is. Everybody knows exactly what's going on. So I got to fix my hat here because my shamrocks are getting a little excited here with all the conversation. But I wanted you to talk about James Joyce. I wanted to share something with you. One of my favorite pubs in Dallas is a place called the Dubliner. Now, you being a James Joyce aficionado, you'll remember that the Dubliner was one of his publications of 15 short stories. So in honor of that, they opened up the Dubliner on Greenville Avenue, and it's a grand place. I mean, really, when you walk in, you're back on the old sod. They got a fire in the fireplace. Very romantic if you want to have a young lady sit over there and sip on a little Irish coffee and whisper sweet tales into her ear. So that's always fun. But then, if you're not in the neighborhood, you go over to Fort Worth. Fort Worth has Malone's Pub. Now, what's secret about Malone's Pub? This is the oldest pub in Fort Worth. And it's over on Calhoun Street. So it's right there close to everybody. And I imagine today it's going to be jam-packed, and tomorrow everybody will be figuring out how they're going to be getting home. But that's what it's all about, you know, friendship, family, food. And remember St. Patrick's, you know, a lot of people say, well, we're celebrating because he drove the snakes out of the country. He did that too. But, you know, they also celebrate his death. That's what St. Patrick's Day is, not his birth. Because St. Patrick wanted to install into the culture that we celebrate life. We don't mourn death. Hence the Irish wake, the singing, the carrying on. You know, there was a law at one time that in Ireland you could not cremate anybody after their death because it would take 3 weeks for the flame to go out. But hey, traditions are traditions. And, you know, I just can't say enough about how everything goes around here at Camp Kennerk and all the support and everything. So, Douglas, everyone go brawl.
TK, that is lovely, beautiful words from you are TK Irish. And I'd like to just say a little something to you, my blessing to you, because I have this poem that I just found. It's for luck and protection for for you. We also, but before that, we have a video from a mountain man, Steve, who is very Irish up in Wyoming. Do we have that video?
Yes, we do. Check this out. I mean, he is so excited about, he even combed his hair to make this video. So, I mean, that's going a long way for mountain man, Steve. So check it out.
Well, it's St. Patrick's Day, and I called to wish you a happy St. Patrick's Day. You may have Dr. Pepper, but I got my Irish coffee. And I'm going to tell you, I got a letter from our Uncle Bud in Ireland that lives there. And it's a great letter I got today. It says, Dear nephew, I thought I'd drop you a line updating you on the local goings-on. Colleen O'Brien and Jane O'Darby both had a set of twin boys. Colleen's named his boys Crew and Cut, while Jane's boys were named Pete and Repeat. They're doing fine. DNA was widely requested, but none of our family was summoned. Mrs. O'Rourke had a heart attack, but had to put a pacemaker in. She's home doing fine, but the only problem is every time she passes gas, the garage door would open. They have started a GoFundMe page for your aunt because they said if we don't make the final payment on her plot, up she comes. So then the weather, it's only rained for 2 times this week, once for 3 days and the other for 4 days. That's all I have, your uncle. Well, that's a pretty good letter. But the other story I heard was about the Irishman who'd been stranded for over 10 years on an island by himself. He's walking this beach, and there's a object coming towards him. It doesn't look like a boat. It's not a fish like he's ever seen. And pretty soon this very voluptuous young woman in a wetsuit stands up and says, "How long have you been here?" He said, "By 10 years by myself." He says, that's incredible. I assume it's been over 10 years since you've had a good smoke. So she undoes her shoulder patch and pulls out a pack of cigarettes and a lighter and says, and he lights them up. And he goes, "Oh my goodness, I never thought I'd have this again." And she says, "Then I assume you haven't had a good shot of Irish whiskey." He said, "That's right." So she undoes her other shoulder pocket, unzips it, pulls out a flask of Jameson's Irish whiskey. And he takes it in and goes, "Oh, lo and behold, this is mighty fine. This is better than I remember." So then she sits on zipping her wetsuit and says, "I assume it's been over 10 years since you played around." He says, "Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, don't tell me you got a set of golf clubs in there." Well, happy St. Patrick's Day to you, Doug, the neighbor, and TK. Have a great day. Bye.
Hey, Doug, now, isn't that some great material?
That's beautiful, TK. Absolutely beautiful. Now, may I bless your family with this Irish prayer. May the leprechauns be near you to spread the luck along your way, and may all the Irish angels smile upon you on St. Patrick's Day.
Well, now, Douglas, that is very nice. Over my life, I hear all the blessings and all the prayers that people send, but that's the first time I've heard that one. That's very good. Very concise and very sweet. Thank you.
All right. Absolutely beautiful, TK. Happy St. Patrick's Day. And I believe we have a little music to add to our podcast. It's by Steve Earle. It was, I think you're going to enjoy it. It's called Galway Girl.
Come on, Galway, let's do this! 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I took a stroll down the old I'm walking the day. I met a little girl and we stopped to talk on a fine soft day. I asked you, friend, what's a fella to do? Because her hair was black and her eyes were blue. And I knew right then I'd be taking a whirl down the Saltdale Pond with the Galway girl. Whoa! Halfway there when the rain came down on the day. She asked me up to her flat downtown, fine soft day. And I asked you, friend, what's a fella to do? Because her hair was black and her eyes were blue. So I took her hand and then I gave it a twirl, and I lost my heart to a Galway girl. Woo! See every hand in the air. Everybody. So when I woke up, I was all alone, with a broken heart and a ticket home. And I asked you, friends, oh, what would you do? Because her hair was black and her eyes were blue. She said, I traveled around, I've been all over the world. Boys, I've never seen nothing like a Galway girl. Last time.
Great.
Aaron Gabra to you, TK.
Everyone go bragh. God bless Ireland.